All right, so I have my heavy duty sewing machine, just kidding. Hi everybody, so today we're going to show you how to make window blinds for your Promaster or any other van that you might have. So the first step is to make a template, and what we did is we used craft paper and we put it up in the windows, and we actually just manipulated it to fit, and then we pressed and drew a line and cut, and then we put tape all around the edge so it would make a nice crisp edge for us. So on our template, it's a very snug fit, so I'm going to trim on the inside of the line, not on the outside of the line, just so I don't want it to be any bigger than what it already is. So now we have a nice clean cut. All right, so the next step was to cut the Reflectix, and we cut it based on the size of the templates. We did end up trimming it down a little bit. So now that we've got this done, now we're gonna work on the next layer. So right now Rob has taped the template onto some foam board, and we're gonna use a raised template to make our pattern for the window coverings.
So what we wanted to do here is we want the depth of these two windows when fabric is laid across them. So that was hard to do with the paper template. And so what we cut these out of some spare insulation. We're just putting tape on it, putting tape on both of them. Then we're going to lay paper over the top of it, and from there we'll know where these edges are so that we can make a border. Okay, so here's our tape from off of the window. So we're just going to cut this out and then test fit it up into the window and see if that's what we want.
I have the two pieces of fabric pieced together, and now comes the part where we have to make sure that we're connecting the foam to the exact right spot on the fabric. So I marked the fabric so that I don't get confused, but this is going to be the top of the fabric, and this is going to be the part that is on the outside, so I want to use this one actually. What we're going to do is we're going to put some hot glue on this, and then put the fabric on there so that we know exactly where it sits on the fabric, so that we get a nice compression fit when we sew it together. So now we know exactly where everything is supposed to be on the fabric to go ahead and make a line where the insulation is. And over here we are going to have like a little flap that kind of comes out with a magnet in it that will hit this area right here, and that is because this is all plastic, and this holds it in with a magnet. It'll hold it in really tight. Okay, so what we did is we went ahead and we marked on the top fabric where the cardboard is on the fabric, so that I can go ahead and put it in the sewing machine and make a straight line up and another straight line down on this side, and then that way the little cardboard thing will just slide right in. And I'm going to go ahead and pin it, because when you put it in the sewing machine it can shift really easily, so I recommend the pins. I'm just going to be sewing down the center to make a channel for the inner cardboard piece that has the magnets on it, so that it will form an inner wall for both of the pockets. So I also wanted to mention that I'm using upholstery thread, which is heavier duty than just regular fabric thread. And it's working really well for this. It's pretty strong.
Like she said earlier, it's real important to mark which side is which. So this is the top outside, which means this is what's going to be touching the glass. So when we make our channel, we want this to come up like that so that the insulation can recess into the window. So here, that wall to be like that because the pillar is going to be right there. So if you did that wrong, it would work on the other window, not this window.
So earlier we had glued it so that we have the exact position, and then we put a line where this is going to sit in the window. And so there's the line, and here's my insert. So now I have it in my pouch, and then I'm going to go ahead and use pins to pin this, where I'm going to put a basting stitch around the whole edge of this, so that I can, then I'm going to trim it and put the binding on it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my machine onto the basting stitch. Because after I baste it, I'm going to take all the pins out. We're going to try it again in the window to make sure that it fits correctly. If it doesn't, then I can rip it out with it because I used a basting stitch. And then if it is correct, then I'm going to put my binding on it and sew all the way around, and then it's pretty much done except for adding the magnets in and making a little pocket over here. So this is why I did a basting stitch, so I can take it out really easy. It turns out that it needs to be tweaked a little bit, so I'm going to pull out this whole panel here and move it a little bit to the right and sew it back in. So this is real bulky, and a zipper foot would probably be a good way to go here. I don't happen to have one, so it's okay. I just press in my foot as close to the foam edge as I can, and that'll be okay because I need to have a little edge anyways. Now we're going to check the fit.
Okay, so we're doing the template for our front shade. I'm using that X board that we used on the floors. I'm just kind of creating a crease that I can see to cut for the outside. Now this may be a little too big for the inside, but we can always trim it down. I'm just kind of running my nail into where the windshield edge is. So we got the template all drawn out. I put an extra piece on the top, taped it across, and then just kind of reached across there with my fingernail, making a groove for it. And now we take it off and cut it and test it on the inside. All right, so we took the board, or the X board, and we cut it in half to make it a little easier to size this way. And then we just kind of fit it in over here so that it covers as much of that as we can reasonably get. And then we cut out this notch for the mirror. This could probably go way out here because there is a little blackout section right there. So to make it simpler, we could just cut this like that. And then I just kind of used my fingers and jammed it up into here so that we created a crease that we can come back and cut. So now what we're going to do is tape up the board back into back together so that we have our full size. Okay, so we took We bought the shorter Reflectix, so we took two pieces, cut them to the same length as our template, and then just taped them together with Reflectix tape. Now we're going to trace out the template and do our cut.
Is it? So what we're doing today is we're going to make the shade for the front window. We also bought some very heavy duty fabric, which is for outside shade material, and it's extremely thick and there's no fraying on it. And so and both sides look exactly the same, so I don't have to turn it inside out or worry which side is front and back. So what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to trace the outside edge of this, and I'm going to leave myself probably about a ½ inch seam allowance. So okay, so we I sewed the seam all the way around, and I left one big opening so that we could slide our stuffing inside the big window shade. And it went pretty well, but there's a few alterations that I'm going to need to make. One of them is this area right here, the cardboard that we have. So we attached cardboard to our other side here, and to give it more rigidity, which worked really well. Except this needs to be trimmed over here where it goes underneath the mirror, because you have to really bend it and stuff. So if we didn't have that there, it would actually work a lot easier. So we're going to trim that off. I'm going to actually be cutting these down and making channels in my coverlet, because we discovered that it would also be better if we were able to, it would just look nicer, and it would look better if we had like the little channels for folding it, and it looked more professional. And then I bought this bias tape. It's extra wide double fold, and I'm actually going to get a wider one, which is going to be 1 inch, and that's what I'm going to use to go all the way around the edge of my shade, and that will finish off this edge. We're working out the kinks as we go, and actually at first we were just going to have one solid piece, but that didn't stay in the window well, so we went ahead and we made channels, and now that does stay in the window well, but now we have gaps on the edge. I'm going to be making a trim that goes around the whole thing anyway, so I think I'll just make it an extra large trim that comes out to here. Okay guys, this is what the shade looks like inside the van. I think it looks really nice. The only problem, like I said, out there is that now we have a gap on both sides, and I think it's a pretty easy fix. I just gotta get back on the sewing machine and make an extra strip. Okay, we're all done. I'm so happy. Wouldn't do this again if you paid me, but they turned out really great, and you can see they fit in the windows really nice. We have a magnet up here to keep it in place, and when you close the door, it does not interfere. There's another magnet here. There's a magnet up here in a pocket. So looks super great. And this one, you take it out and it folds like this, and then we're going to store it in our overhead compartment. And then the big one turned out really great too. Rob will take a shot of that. So even without these window shades down, it stays in place pretty well. It works better on this side with it down. But it looks super good, I think, if I do say so myself. And this one also, I'm going to take it out and show you how massive it was. So this was really huge, and it was a lot to go through my tiny little sewing machine, but we made it work. Rob had to hold it because of the bulk. And then we used 6 yards of the Sunbrella material, which was just about enough. I would have preferred to have 1 extra yard just in case I make a mistake or something. But here's the side flaps that I made so that it would fill that gap. When we made the channels, it shrunk it in, and so I needed to make 2 side panels. And then here's the rim all the way around that I sewed on all of the shades, and that was because I had raw ends, and it just cleaned it up. Fold it, and then we're gonna store it. And so there you have it. I'm sure it's got a huge R value to keep the heat out, and I'm really happy with them. Thanks for watching. Bye.